I thought it'd be interesting to put a series of videos together about queen rearing instead of having it all wrapped up in one. You see, because to do the whole thing of all the steps in queen rearing, it's broke down in several different days. It's not all done in one day, so it makes sense to have all these steps broke down in different videos. So if you follow along this whole series, this is going to be the first video here, and as the weeks come, there'll be more videos that will connect to this one. I think it'll make it easier for some people to understand, and at the same time it gives me the chance to redo some of the videos that I've done in the past, and hopefully they're more clear, hopefully the audio is better. In the past, when I made some videos, my camera quality wasn't the greatest, and I think that's slightly better today. So if you haven't subscribed, please take time to do so now. That way, as these videos come out, you're notified. Make sure you click that little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure that you're notified. Hello folks, Jason Chrisman here of JC's Bees. To get started here, we've got a cell starter, and this is my cell starter that I use right in the middle of summer. You can see the ventilation all the way around the bottom. It's basically a nuke box. Okay, so the base of the cell starter is basically an extra 5 or 6 inches with ventilation holes cut all the way around. No specific dimensions, just lots of extra ventilation. The reason the bees need so much air is because in the cell starter, they're going to be completely contained. They're not going to be able to get out, so they're going to need everything that they need to survive and to make queens within this box. Now, like I said, this is one I use in the summer months. So I'm going to set this one off to the side, and I'm going to slide this one up. This is a new one I just got, and I set it up for spring queen rearing. You take the box off the top, and what you're going to see is the bottom is screened. You're going to notice that there is no screen holes in the sides of this box. And that's because I'm in Central Ohio and we are still having some cool nights. I do not want the queen cells to chill, and for that reason I've did away with the screening on the sides. One thing you're going to need in the bottom of the cell starter is a container of water. In the past I just used an old sour cream cup or a bowl or anything of that sort. The problem I found is when I shake my bees into here, with the top of the cup being open, a large number of bees fell right into the water. So over the years of doing decking jobs and different construction jobs, even building bee boxes, you can pick up these little screw containers which have these little lids, and then from there I just stick a washcloth in there and fill it up with water. Now when I shake the bees in, they land on the lid and not inside. So this has helped with drowning bees. Make sure you put a washcloth or some kind of a clean rag in the water though, and that will keep them from drowning when they climb in. So I'm going to set that in the back here. I'll set the nuke back on. It's just a standard 5-frame nuke. One of the things I suggest you always give a cell starter is a frame of foundation. When the bees start to draw out your queen cells and they get their wax glands going, what tends to happen is they draw comb between the queen cells. If you give them a sheet of foundation, that will greatly reduce that, maybe even completely stop it. Another frame I'm going to have in here with my bees is going to be my queen rearing frame with all of my JZB cups on it. These are all brand new cups, never been used before, and I want the bees to polish them up, and that will make acceptance a lot better of my cells. Now when I say acceptance, that means if I graft in all of these, I'm going to have a higher percentage of them turn out versus just sticking it in there the day of the graft. So we want to make sure that's in there. So there's 2 frames right there of our 5. Now these 2 frames are frames that I'll be swapping out when we stick our bees in here. So we've got room for 3 more frames. You're going to have a frame of honey, you want a frame of pollen, and probably just stick another one in there covered in some bees, maybe another frame of pollen or honey, nectar. One of the things you do not want to stick in there is any open larvae. If they have open larvae, they're going to raise queens on that frame and they're going to ignore your graft. So that is very, very crucial. Take the time to make sure each frame does not have any open eggs or larvae. If you can do that, you're going to have a good success rate. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got my water in the bottom. I've got my first 2 frames in here, which I'll probably take out while I shake my bees in. That will give me a little bit more room. And now let's get ready to set up the self-starter. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do when we open this up is locate the queen. Once we find the queen on her frame, we're going to move that over to a nuke and put the lid on it. And that's going to make sure that we don't accidentally put the queen in here. We don't want that. The next thing we're going to do is find our frames of brood. Those brood frames are going to contain the nursing bees that we need to raise our queen cells. And we're going to want as many of those nursing bees in here as we can. The more we have, the better chances of getting a large abundance of queen cells on our grafting frame. So after we do that, then we'll go and look for our frame of honey and our frame of pollen, get everything in here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to give them this frame for their frame of honey. I'm going to try and give you a shot over here. If I locate her again, she's right here. Okay, now this is where you'll want to make up any difference in frames that you transfer. So now I'm going to replace the queen back into this slot here, and then I'll put the queen excluder right over top of her. Place the queen excluder on. Now we know the queen is trapped below the excluder in the bottom deep. The next step we want to do, and this is going to help us out in a couple days, is find a couple frames of brood and mark an X on them. Put them side by side and then mark them with an X. And what we'll do when we transfer our grafting frame back to here, we'll sandwich them right between them 2 frames. This is a frame of brood. I'm going to mark it with an X. I'm going to stick an empty frame in that spot for the time being. Give me an X on the other frame. So as you can see, there's a lot of steps. As long as you follow the steps as I showed you, you'll be fine. If you do not do everything as I showed you, then it's probably going to go downhill from here and you just wasted your time. So it's very crucial that you make sure everything goes as demonstrated here in this video. Tomorrow, after 24 hours, I'll be able to graft, in which I'm going to graft from another beehive, and I'll transfer it back into the self-starter. The rest of today, they'll just be stuck in that self-starter, realizing that they're queenless. So, all we do now is wait. So that concludes the very first day, the very first step. Another thing I'd like to mention is temperatures that I look for in the spring here in central Ohio before I even think about queen rearing. A few things to keep in mind. First, you need to make sure you see drones. If you don't have drones, then you're not going to have drones in your area to mate these queens that you're raising. So keep that in mind. You want to look for drones. You also want to look for temperatures no lower than 40. And that's usually my overnight low. And highs 55 or above. You see, I don't like to get in my beehives and work them unless it's 55 or more. And at the same time, I don't want it getting any cooler at night than 40, because when you're going to have queen cells in there, the bees have to be able to keep them warm to keep the cell from chilling. So that's something to keep in mind as you go about this. Another thing I would like to point out now is a good time to get down in the video description and download your queen rearing calendar. In the next few days, I'll release a short video on how to use this queen rearing calendar, and it's very simple. But if you go ahead and download it now, you can go ahead and look it over, see what it's all about, and maybe you'll understand it and won't need my video. But there's a lot of people that get confused on the queen rearing calendar. So we're going to make that really simple in my next video, how to read this. So I hope you liked the video, and if so, you'll throw me a big old thumbs up. That'll help boost it in the YouTube search ranks and make it easier for other beekeepers to find. I think it's going to be a very interesting series, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.